I'm Dr. Joe Perez. I am Senior Systems Analyst and Team Lead at the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services. So, as I mentioned, I'm a Senior Systems Analyst and Team Lead in the IT division of the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services. Um, Believe it or not, I really do love my job. Some people think that if you're working for the government, well, you don't love your job, and that's not true. And I'm hoping that I can break that stereotype by the way that I demonstrate the love for my job. And I do that by trying to exhibit excellence in what I do, by refusing to be satisfied with the status quo, by going the extra mile, breaking out of my comfort zone, and by seeking to show that an expectation is a thing that needs to be exceeded rather than just met. So, with that in mind, some of the things I do, I oversee the activities of my team. I manage projects, sometimes more than one at the same time. And I get to take processes apart, analyze how they work, figure out how to make them work faster and better. And then I put them back together again so that they'll work better and faster. I get to liaise between high level executive business partners and high level technical people on the other side, and then somehow figure out how to get these two groups to somehow talk to each other, then develop functional business and technical requirements and solutions so that these two groups can all agree to, and in some manner or fashion, make it all work so that everybody is happy. I also get to spearhead some pretty exciting business intelligence and analytics initiatives for our data warehouse. And one of them involves leadership and project management role for our business intelligence development platform. And at the same time, I have to make sure that that very same data warehouse is going to wind up being sleeker and more efficient. Now, in addition to my full time leadership role at DHHS, on a fractional basis, I'm also Chief Technology Officer at Solentech Corporation. That's a startup company based in both North Carolina and California. I lead the strategy for technology platforms and partnerships, and I take the initiative in thought leadership, initiation, innovation, and creativity. Now, as far as the thought leadership is concerned, at both DHHS and also, excuse me, at Solentech, this has opened up some amazing opportunities for me to speak at conferences, which incidentally, that has really taken off in the last couple of 3 years. I deliver keynote presentations in several different areas that I'll get into a little bit later, like technical topics, data strategy, data governance, data storytelling, data transformation. Pretty much anything and everything that has to do with data, because that's my biggest role in my job. Professional development topics, facilitating innovation, and also motivational leadership type topics. Again, all that ties into my role. It's such an honor and a delight to know that somehow, by the grace of God, this keynote speaking that I do, it impacts thousands of people every year in more than 20 countries across the globe. So I'm enjoying life, and I'm hoping in my role to serve God and my fellow man by pretty much giving it everything that I've got to create value, exceed expectations, and hopefully make someone else's day brighter in the process as I'm fulfilling my role at both DHHS and Solentech. I've always had an interest in and a passion for communicating knowledge. Again, a real passion of mine that has developed pretty much all my life. And as I continue developing my skills in my professional career as an educator, having gone on to get both my master's and my doctoral degrees in the subject, that passion only grew. It was fed. Part of that communication and education in which I was involved, excuse me, included an understanding of the educational process. And that entails, not only knowing your material, the subject you're teaching, but more importantly, knowing your audience, as I said before, the student whom you're teaching. And part of that encompasses knowing how to make connections with multiple senses of your audience at the same time. And a major part of that is doing so in a visually compelling manner. Let me tell you something, Canny, that translates really nicely into technology today. So it started off as a side gig during the last 6 years of my 10-year teaching career. It was actually in the form of my taking on increasingly responsible IT related jobs during during the summer months to supplement my teaching income during the school year. My minor, well, actually, part of the double minor for my master's degree was and doctoral degree was in computers. So each summer, well, I kept getting better and better at what I was doing, and that over into my being able to run the computer lab at the school where I was teaching during my last year there. And then when a computer analyst job at a local university presented itself, well, it was the perfect marriage of both tech and education, bringing them both together. So essentially, those summer jobs turned into a full time second career when the university made me an offer that I just could not refuse. So as I rose up through the ranks at the university over the next 25 years or so, from let's see, analyst programmer to computer training manager to business intelligence specialist, excuse me, I was all the while leveraging my communication and data science skills by getting to put together all the training department, excuse me, all the training programs from my department, and also speaking at university workshops and conferences about the reporting solutions that we designed at the graduate school. That was the department where I worked at the university. All right. This also continued to ignite my passion for the reporting of data, those hot buttons that I mentioned earlier. See, an educator translating into a career, not translating, transitioning, I should say, transitioning into a career in IT can leverage their communication skills, problem solving, critical thinking skills, and all that to pursue roles in areas such as instructional design, IT training and support, or e learning and development. The beauty of it is that at one point or another, I did all three of those things. So, with the technology skills, the demand for it increasing, even back in those days, this shift, if you will, opened up a whole lot of new opportunities for both my personal and professional growth at the university. And that is, well, of course, why I stayed there for the next 25 years or so. I don't look at challenge as a thing to be shied away from. All right. The great Winston Churchill once said, success is not final. Failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts. And I've tried to live by that philosophy. Some of these challenges. One of them, when I managed computer training, was encountering a situation where the manager who was in the position before me had pretty much depleted one of the trust funds, and it was in a $2,000 deficit. And there was quite a few measures that I had to some austerity measures and some real radical thinking, turning unused storage room into a classroom to generate more income and ensuring that classes that were plugged into the schedule would be viable. Quite a bit of cost benefit analysis went into it, and quite a bit of restructuring took place. And within 6 months, or excuse me, less than 6 months, that $2,000 deficit was turned into a surplus of more than $90,000. The key thing with tools is you use the tools. You don't let the tools use you. You know, trust the people that you have working for you and ensure that you capitalize on their greatest assets. My whole philosophy is, again, when I walk into a room, I want to ensure the people that are in that room are going to be better off after I'm finished talking than they were when they first walked into that room. I try to have that philosophy about everything, actually, to give it everything I've got, to give 120%, to ensure that they're not going to be bored to tears, that they're not going to be put to death by my PowerPoint, as it were. So therefore, you have to know Well, what kind of mindset do you have to be in to get to the point where you are driven by data, where your data storytelling is done in an efficient, visually compelling, but also a correct manner, that you're not trying to skew things the wrong way. And learning the principles and setting the framework and having the best practices in place is what's going to help you get to that point. Those are the things that I talk about. And having spoken to, oh good heavens, over 100 different conferences in the last 2 or 3 years, I've learned that you have to adapt to ensure that you are both relevant and resonant with audiences in all different kinds of industries, because each one is going to have a little bit of a different emphasis. We found ourselves facing new and complex challenges on a regular basis. So that's why I believe that the key to success in this field is to never stop learning. It's not enough to simply master a particular technology or some fancy dancy tool. Uh-uh. Now, it's imperative that we constantly be on the lookout for new ways to innovate, improve, and stay ahead of the curve. Now, I've often said that if you're not innovating, you're stagnating. As Steve Jobs once said, stay curious, stay hungry, and never stop learning. I love that quote. But I'll also say this: um, don't be afraid to take risks. That is, don't let fear hold you back from going after new ideas and opportunities. Okay. Keep open lines of communication open with your team, your client, your stakeholders, and yeah, well, with everybody for that matter. Okay. Don't underestimate the power of soft skills. I'm talking about things like teamwork, problem solving, critical thinking, knowing how to strike that elusive work life balance, knowing how to deal with change, knowing how to deal with people. All right, that sort of thing. Now, you know what, Kenny, if I could have told my younger self, all of this stuff 30 years ago, I think I'd be a whole lot better off today. Sure. I wish I could have spent more time here, but from what I've been able to gather, um, the platform that's used is an excellent platform. It's one that encourages people to network. Whether you are connecting just by listening to what's happening, or if you got your camera turned on, and if you're participating in an interview like I am, or if you're listening to a panel discussion. If you can't make the flight all the way to London, at least you're able to participate remotely and hear what's going on and gain some really good practical wisdom from some folks who've been at this even longer than I have, and are very competent experts who have quite a bit of knowledge and wisdom to share. And it's great to be able to glean some. I again, as I said before, I've been at this for 30 something years, and I can still learn something new every day. So it's great to hear somebody spout off some statistic, or mention some new aspect of a concept that I was already familiar with, but yet they look at it from a different angle. Those are the kinds of things that you see when you participate in an event like this. It's put on by some phenomenal people. There's a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes. Even when there are technical difficulties that you can't really help that. Technology is going to goof up sometimes, and yet folks will roll with the punches, get it taken care of, get everything back up and running, and bam, you can get back in. Don't be concerned about that, and don't complain about it. Just be grateful for the opportunity that you have to network with other folks that are interested in similar things as you are, and also for the chance to gain some practical knowledge that will hopefully enhance your position, your skills, and kind of add to your professional development. So all in all, it's a great event. I just wish I could have been there in person and ride a double-decker bus or something. But hey, getting to watch people hold forth and have some great dialogue is the next best thing.